All right, injury update. CJ, obviously with the groin, he's still out. McClendon, we are still evaluating his neck, so we're going through that process. Hopefully we have some more information later today. Le'Veon had to go get an MRI today on his knee. We're still evaluating that. We haven't heard anything back from that whole process. Bellamy with the foot, he'll be rehabbing this week. Tremaine with the ankles, rehabbing. Neville still has not been cleared with his neck. Rontez still got the neck, hip, rehabbing. Khalil, we're hoping that we can possibly practice. We're not for sure, but, possibility of Thursday or Friday, but there's a possibility it might not happen. Beecham, looks like we got a chance for him to practice Wednesday. And then Herndon, hopefully we can get him going in practice. We thought, with 7 guys already inactive, he would have been the 8th guy. We were kind of seeing how he would feel going into warm-ups and just kind of how he'd do moving around. He seemed to feel good before the game. We'll kind of see if that helps build on his confidence of where he's at with his injury. And with that, we can, whatever questions you guys got.
Ryan from the Post, your line is active.
Adam, at 1-7, what gives you belief that you guys can get this thing righted?
I think the fact the locker room is doing a good job of sticking together and focusing on coming here and putting in the work and taking the critiques and making sure that they're finding ways to communicate better and get better every day at practice. These guys are working hard to really turn things around. And, that's the number one thing for us is those guys just really nailing down, focusing on getting better every day, not worrying about, what's happened the week before, improve from the week before, correct the mistakes that we make, but move on. I think they've done a good job of putting, the practices together. We just gotta do a better job on game day.
Rich, ESPN, your line is active.
Adam, can you elaborate on the Le'Veon knee thing? I think it probably happened down by the goal line, right? And how concerned are you?
Yeah, Rich, I'm kind of waiting on this information. It was something that I just heard about this morning because he basically had to miss everything this morning to get this MRI. I haven't seen him yet. I haven't talked to the trainers when I talked to them. They said that they're still going through everything and trying to figure out kind of where he's at and what's going on. I can't say exactly where it happened because he never said anything to me during the game or, said anything to me after the game. So I'm not really sure, the extent of this.
Connor, The Athletic, your line is active.
Adam, kind of a two-part question. Is this something where you're a little alarmed by the Bell knee because you hear running back MRI knee and that kind of raises some red flags? And then after watching the film on Sam, what was your assessment kind of why things didn't exactly go the way you guys planned at quarterback?
Yeah, I don't want to get too alarmed with Le'Veon without any information. When they say they're still evaluating, it could be nothing, and he just felt like something didn't feel right. It could be something else that, I'm not even thinking of right now. So, it's hard for me to go anywhere with it mentally, just because I feel like it's just so gray. After watching everything, it's just a couple plays, but at that position, it's a couple plays that hurt us and kind of swing momentum of the game. There was a lot more good than bad. I thought he did a really good job of getting the ball to to the backs when it wasn't there, and especially Le'Veon when he got to a lot of the checkdowns. That was kind of something we talked about this week. If progression wasn't there, getting to the back, using them. There was a couple plays in the game where it's just we got to get cleaned up. We got to make sure that he understands either where to go with the ball or where his out is, and he knows going into the game. I think sometimes it just we'll make a mistake here and there, which happens. We just gotta protect ourselves to where it's not a turnover, not an extremely bad play that affects the game the way that they are right now.
JP Forbes, your line is active.
Adam, looking back at the last possession for you guys yesterday, you didn't call any timeouts. Looking back at it, do you feel like maybe you should have? It seemed like there were a couple plays where it took about 20 seconds or so for the next play to come. Was there maybe not a sense of urgency for some of the players at that point? What did you think?
No, I mean, looking back at that, there's multiple things I wish I would have done different on that drive. We were trying to keep as many timeouts as we could. I wish I would have kicked the field goal earlier. There's probably probably one of those snaps. I wish I would have used a timeout. We went back and kind of talked through that drive, and there's a couple things I wish I would have done different. It was just kind of what they were doing, and they were getting so deep, and we had to keep checking the ball down. It was just not. It's not an ideal situation to be in. You got to kind of do things perfect, and I wasn't really happy with the way I operated in that situation. I wish I would have had a couple different decisions on that drive to give us a better chance. It's one unfortunately I'm going to have to learn from.
Manish, Daily News, your line is active.
Adam, can you give us a couple things? First, can you give us clarification on what happened on that errant shotgun snap at the end of the game? And two, how much of these steps backwards by Sam in these past few games is a reflection of your play calling and or coaching?
Yeah, I mean, the only clarification I can give on the snap is, for whatever reason, we just weren't on the same page. We had a couple guys that thought the ball was being snapped then. When it was snapped, we had a couple guys thinking that it was going to be on a different cadence. It's just something that is not ideal. You don't want it ever to happen. It happened, and it cost us the safety. I think it was just really, really bad timing as far as that happening because we couldn't afford any negative plays. And, it's hard for me to say that he's taken any steps back. It's just that we got to get some of these plays cleaned up. We have to just make sure that we're doing a better job of not putting ourselves in bad position. And then, sometimes, when things are moving quick, we just got to make the right decision at the right time.
A reminder, please press *3 if you have any questions. Rich, ESPN, your line is active.
Adam, to say there's a growing unrest among the fan base right now would probably be an understatement, and it's mostly directed at you at 1-7, with all sorts of speculation out there, people wanting you fired and so forth. How do you feel about, and I apologize for the bluntness here, but it has to be asked at 1-7, but just how do you feel about your job security at this point?
Yeah, Rich, it's just something that I don't really focus on. My job is to try to get the team prepared every week, get them ready to go, get them focused on the game that we have to play. 1-7 is not fun to go through. Things haven't gone the way that we wanted to. That's what happens in the NFL sometimes. And unfortunately, we're going through it right now. And all I can focus on is we'll be better for having to go through this. It's extremely tough. We're going to see how tight we are as a group, coaches, players, support staff, everybody in the building. And, we got to battle through this. We got to figure out a way to dig ourselves out of this and go find a way to win a game.
Brian from the Post, your line is active.
Along those same lines, Adam, Christopher Johnson after the game looked clearly frustrated, kind of waiting for you guys to come in from the field. You guys have a good relationship. he put his faith in you, with his team. What do you say to Christopher after a game like that, either last night or today when you guys talk?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's, I always, when we lose a game, I feel like I let him down and haven't got us to where I was hoping we'd be at this point. He understands that, he's going to get everything I have day in and day out to try to work things out where we're at right now and keep fighting and trying to find a way to win games.
Matt from NJ Advanced Media, your line is active.
Yeah, Adam, you talked about on that bad snap a little bit, kind of the guys not being on the same page, and that's the most glaring example, obviously, of it happening this year, but not the first time. And combined with penalties, which have been an issue, it all kind of seems to stem, or it would appear from the outside to potentially be a result of a lack of focus at times by the guys. Is that troubling to you, that these guys, may not be completely mentally engaged at times and are kind of leading to these errors?
I don't know if it's a lack of focus. To me, I look at it as, the penalties that we had this last game, some of them are technique issues. Some of them are, we get a holding on something that we felt like we could have had, guys doing things a little different way, using a little different technique. That felt like that was the first time that we had a disconnect like that when it came to our silent count with, being off like that. I'm not really sure that it's happened really like that before. I mean, it occasionally happens, like once a year. That was one of those ones where I was a little surprised that happened. I think it's just a lot of the things that we have penalty-wise are things that we can prevent ourselves, which is, the false starts. I know that we can be way better at that. Illegal hands to the face, the holdings, like we can clean these things up. These are technique things that we have to keep hammering out in practice and make sure that we have the right hand placement and understand that how we're getting rushed and where our hands need to be, and we need to be in an athletic position and do the right things. And the OPI that we had, I mean, that's why we challenged it. It was just so close. It's just some of these things we just got to make sure that our timing is right on when we're doing things, and we have to execute it on Sunday, but we got to prepare for it during the week.
Connor from The Athletic, your line is active.
Adam, I understand that you don't want to talk necessarily about your job security. It's something you're not focused on, but has Christopher Johnson from you guys meeting, talking day to day, or whenever you guys chat, has he expressed to you that he shares the kind of same vision for this process and that he understands that this is not a one-year thing where he would kind of basically, do you believe that you have your job security after this year from Christopher Johnson and talking to him?
I've never asked him that directly. I just know in all my conversations that we've had with him, we've let him know kind of where we're at with our roster and our situations that we've had as far as who's moving in and out of the lineup. He knows that what we're trying to do and every day in practice and through our meetings and what we're working on to get better. I mean, I don't know. We've just been talking about just getting our guys ready to go each week and, updating him on kind of where we were at during practice during the week.
We'll take two more questions. Manish, Daily News, your line is active.
Adam, a couple things. One, did you talk to Darryl Roberts? I don't know if you got word, but he posted a pretty unprofessional message disparaging the fan base after the game. And two, you touched on Herndon earlier, but if it was a question whether he was going to play, why not activate somebody from the practice squad on in a different position, maybe somebody on defense who could definitively help you guys out, perhaps on special teams, and do that as opposed to kind of gamble on Herndon.
Yeah, well, with the Darryl Roberts thing, I did hear about this one, and we're going to handle that internally. It's really not something that we're looking for any of our guys to do. We addressed it, and the other thing, as far as Chris goes, we were were in a spot where the guys that were inactive, we didn't want to put anybody down at the time, and we didn't really feel like there was a move we were going to make that was going to, really help us in that situation, because the way that we were practicing, we weren't really sure kind of where we were going to be. We thought maybe somebody could have snuck in there and been kind of our active guy that was able to play, and it didn't work out that way. And it was just one of those situations. It wasn't ideal when you go into a game with 45.
The last question, Rich from ESPN, your line is active.
Just to follow up on the Darryl Roberts thing, I mean, we saw a player from another team get cut today for doing something somewhat similar, not quite the same, but somewhat similar. When you say handle internally, I mean, is there a chance you're going to release Roberts, or is when you say handle internally,
no.
Is that
just our discussions about moving forward, just to make sure that we're doing things correctly and being professional and understanding that that's something we don't want.